Okay, so we're going to use the PADI Recreational Dive Planner to work out the shortest surface interval between two dives. Now, I'm using the metric tables. However, if you're using Imperial, the methods are exactly the same, except you'll be diving in feet. If you haven't already done so, I recommend watching the first video I did on how to use the Recreational Dive Planner so you have some idea of what you're doing. Now, let's get started. We're going to do two dives today. The first dive is for 20 meters for 45 minutes and the second 14 meters for 60 minutes. Now we need to use all the tables in the Recreational Dive Planner to make this work. So let's have a look at our dive plan. Okay, so here's our planner. We're doing a 20-meter dive. So we start at the top up here and look for 20 meters. So we go across and we find that 20 meters is there. If 20 meters was not there, we'd have to round up to the nearest one. So here's 20 meters. We look down the column and we find that 45 minutes is actually at the end of the column. This is the maximum time that we can actually spend at 20 meters, is 45 minutes. So we are pushing the limits of this table a little. We then look to the left or to the right and we can see the pressure group at the end of the dive, and that's U. Okay, so let's put all this information into a profile. So a 20-meter depth for 45 minutes. We definitely have to do a safety stop at this time. Our pressure group at the end of the dive is now U, and we've filled in some information about our second dive. We're doing 14 meters for 60 minutes. Okay, so 14 meters for 60 minutes. Let's look at table 3, so flip your dive planner over. So we go down the left-hand side for the depth and we find the depth that we have. Again, if it's not listed there, we have to round up, but we're doing 14 meters, so it's there. Now the white lines tell us how much residual nitrogen time we have, and the blue lines tell us our adjusted no decompression limit. So what we're looking for is an adjusted no decompression limit of 60 or more so that we can dive. So we just keep scrolling across, looking across to the right until we find 60. So here we get 61, so that's greater than the amount of time we want to dive for. We can see that there is a residual nitrogen time of 37 minutes. So here, we scroll across, this is the box that we're interested in. 37-minute residual nitrogen time and an adjusted no decompression limit of 61 minutes. So, if we scroll up, we can see that our pressure group at the end of the surface interval has to be a minimum of J. A maximum of J, actually. It can be I, H, G, F, E, D, they're all fine, but for us to do this dive, we need to have a maximum of J. So, let's fill the information into our dive profile. We've got our information from our first dives. We put our 14 meters and 60 minutes are still there. Our pressure group at the end of the surface interval is J. Our residual nitrogen time is 37. Let's continue on. Now we need to turn the dive planner back over and use table 2 now. Now in the first one we figured out that we had U was the pressure group at the end of the dive, and our second calculation we worked out J was the pressure group at the end of the surface interval. So now all we have to do is go up, follow across, and we find that 45 minutes to 50 minutes is the minimum amount of time that we can spend on the surface for us to do these dives. So let's take that information and recap. So we have a residual nitrogen time of 37 minutes. Remember, this must be added to our actual bottom time to give us the total bottom time. We have an adjusted no decompression limit of 61 minutes. This means that we cannot spend any longer than 61 minutes underwater. We're all right, we're planning on 60, so we should be okay. The shortest surface interval is 45 minutes. So that's the least amount of time we can spend on the surface. So all that remains to do is to fill this into a profile and calculate the pressure group after the second dive. So let's fill in. We had 45 minutes for our surface interval. Now let's fill in this little table here. We had our 37 minutes for the residual nitrogen time. Our actual bottom time is 60, so the bottom time here and here should match, giving us a total bottom time of 97 minutes. Now we're not going to be diving for 97 minutes, we're only going to be diving for 60 minutes. We need the 97 to work out our pressure group at the end of the dive. So let's go back to table 1, and we're doing a 14-meter dive. And remember, we are diving for 60 minutes. However, our total bottom time, so that's including our residual nitrogen time, takes us to 97 minutes. So we scroll down and look for the nearest to 97, and we see that we have 87, 92, 98. So 98 is the closest to 97, so we round up, always round up to 98. Then we look across left or right, and we see that we have a pressure group of Y. Now, if you fall in a pressure group of W or X, that means we have to have a minimum surface interval of an hour after that dive. If you fall in Y or Z, you have to have a minimum surface interval of 3 hours. So because we've pushed the limits of the table a bit there, if we plan to do a third dive today, we'd have to wait 3 hours before we could actually dive. So let's look at our completed dive profile. So we've done 20 meters for 45 minutes with a 3-minute safety stop. We have to do that. This gave us a pressure group of U. We then did a 45-minute surface interval that gave us a pressure group of J. From there, we then did a 14-meter dive for 60 minutes. And so we worked out our total bottom time of 97 minutes. Notice on both of these dives, we have to have a safety stop. It's not a choice. You must have one. This gives us a pressure group of Y. If we continue to dive and do a third dive for the day, we'd have to have a surface interval of at least 3 hours. Now, just a little bit of a note. Although we worked out the shortest interval between these dives, we have basically taken the recreational dive planner to its limits. This is not a safe way to dive. It is better to be more conservative. You can do this by either increasing the surface interval times, decreasing your maximum depth, reducing your bottom time, and by not making repetitive dives. Remember that no dive table or method can safely guarantee that you will not get decompression illness. Everyone is different and reacts differently to the effects of diving. Remember, you dive at your own risk. Thanks for watching, and I hope this has helped you working out the shortest surface interval between 2 dives.